Today I'm sharing 20 rules I use to keep our home clutter-free. And if you end up liking this video, subscribe for more simple living tips. Don't wait until you have a full day to declutter. I find it easier to declutter whenever I have the chance. So if I'm going through my wardrobe and changing it around for the season, I will just grab the things I no longer want and put them in a bag to be decluttered. I don't wait till I have a full day because I know that that will probably never happen. As I'm going through my home and doing my daily routine and chores, I like to question how much I really need of something. I know that there are stores quite close to me, grocery stores, Target, Home Depot, and I can buy literally anything I need in the moment that I need it. So I do like to question how much I really need to be saving. One example I have is I got some new towels, and then in my mind I thought I needed to save the old towels in case of an emergency, but I already had some old towels saved. So in the end, I decluttered the towels that I no longer needed because I realized I only needed so many backup towels. I no longer buy things in anticipation of something to come. For instance, when my first child was born, I would buy clothes for him to grow into for the next year. I would buy toys that were not in his age range. And now I have my third child who's 8 months old, and I only buy clothes that he can currently wear. And as soon as he grows out of those, that is when I purchase the next lot of clothes for him to wear. A great way to stay clutter-free is to use free things that are there for us. So I like to go to the library instead of buying books, or I can download digital books onto my laptop or onto my tablet and read them for free from the library. And that is just one way to avoid all of the clutter that books can bring to your home. By using more natural seasonal decor, I can avoid a lot of clutter being stored in my home throughout the year that I am not using. So when it is fall, I like to get some pumpkins and some natural wreaths. And when it's Christmas, I will also buy some poinsettias and have some Christmas decoration that is all natural that I don't have to store throughout the year. Envisioning how I want my home to look and feel and function makes me stay clutter-free, because when I'm out shopping and I come across something that I am tempted to buy, I will think to myself, where will I put this in my home? And if I don't envision where it can go and how it will make my life better, then I don't buy it. And that really helps cut down on the things coming into my home and the clutter that can accumulate quite quickly. Whenever possible, I try to say no to free things, and it's surprising how many things can come into your home that you don't need and you never even wanted just from accepting free things. When we go to a community event, they're always giving out free hats, pens, and bags, and I really try to say no thank you because I know I don't need these things and they can cause a lot of clutter. This is sort of a no-brainer, but I go through my home often and analyze what I need and what I'm no longer using. It is so surprising how quickly clutter can accumulate, or just those things that we're not using anymore, or my kids have grown out of certain clothing, and it just happens really fast. So by going through my home often, I can get rid of a lot of the clutter that would often be overlooked. As I'm going through my house, I also look at the things that I haven't been using in a while, and I question, do I still need this item? If it hasn't been used in over a year, I will get rid of it. Keeping a capsule wardrobe cuts down on all of those backup items that are rarely worn. And so I like to seasonally go through all my clothes, make sure everything fits and works together, and come up with a capsule wardrobe that I love and want to wear. I like to make sure everything in my house has a home, if that makes sense. So everything has a certain place to live and be put away in that certain spot. And this really helps cut down on clutter because I know if there is something in my home that's floating around, it probably just needs to get decluttered because it's not important enough to have a certain spot in our home. Setting limits on what I'm going to keep really helps me to cut down on the amount of stuff that I have stored away. So for instance, I have a certain amount of bins for Christmas decorations, and I make sure that I never buy more than the amount that can fit into the bin. And when it comes to my sentimental items, I also have one bin that I try to fit everything into. And if I find myself keeping too many items that won't fit into the bin, that is when I rethink what I am storing and keeping. I set limits in every aspect of our lives, so this applies to kids' toys, my clothing, what we store in the garage, and it goes on and on. I like to do something called a seasonal declutter, and that means every time the season changes, I go through my house and see what can be decluttered. I find this to be a great time because usually we're switching out clothes, so from summer to winter or vice versa, and it's just a wonderful time to find all those things that we are no longer using. My goal is to deal with paper clutter as soon as it comes into my home. So if we get a check, I try to put it into the bank right away. If we get mail, I try to decide what is trash and what needs to be looked at right away. I've also unsubscribed from most things that come in the mail, and I just get it digitally on my computer. And this has helped a lot to cut down on all of that extra stuff. The one in, one out policy is very simple. For every item that I bring into my home, I usually try to get rid of a similar item in its place. And most of the time I'm actually replacing items, so that's already built in for me. But when I do come across something I want, I try to see what I can get rid of, so that way we are staying at the same level of items in our home. Now I rarely go out shopping just to find things to catch my eye and purchase that I never really needed. Most of the shopping I do is to replace items that I have got rid of for some reason. Either it's worn out and needs to be replaced, or something that we actually have found a need for, which really helps cut down on all of the extra things that are not needed. Instead of shopping in the stores, I can shop my own home, move things around from one room to another, give my home a new, refreshed look, and make it feel a little bit different without having to purchase anything. Another great way to stay clutter-free is to borrow things and lend out the things that you have that others can use as well. Why should we all have the same things that are just rarely used? So for instance, I'm talking more about party supplies, chairs or tables or cookie trays, those sort of things that you may only use once a year and it would just be for a party. I found this article that once said minimalists were annoying because they were constantly asking for things. I would never make that a habit, but I do find if I have 5 chairs and someone else has 5 chairs, that we could bring all of our chairs together for the bigger party, and therefore we don't all have to have 10 chairs. It just makes sense and really cuts down on the amount of stuff we have to store. And if you're uncomfortable borrowing things, like sometimes I would be in certain circumstances, then renting things is another way to go, especially for a one-time special event. Just rent the dress or rent the chairs and table rather than buying all of it. I like to shop secondhand, and I kind of use a secondhand store almost like a library where I will buy something that I need for a short time and then donate it back for someone else to use. I love this for Halloween costumes. A few years ago, we went to a party and we only needed a costume for one day. So we went to the thrift store, found something great, and then we decluttered it back to that same thrift store so someone else can now use it. The best rule that I've made for myself is to not feel guilty when decluttering things, because I've found that there is no positive or good reason to keep things that I no longer need. By keeping something, it doesn't mean the money is going to come back, and odds are, if I'm not using it now, I probably never will. I think we all have to give ourselves a break once in a while and realize that there are different stages of life where we are going to need more of something and other stages where we need less of something, and life changes over time. So right now I have little kids and someday I'll have older kids. All of that means that things change and stuff will come in and out of our home as needed. These are all just rules and habits that I've made for our family to stay clutter-free and simplified and organized in our home. Hopefully some of these might be able to help you as well. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new, hit the subscribe button and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!